In news from the U.S. election, in the third and final debate of the 2012 U.S. presidential election campaign, which concluded early this morning Sri Lankan time, U.S. President Barack Obama and Republican candidate Governor Mitt Romney clashed on foreign policy issues. Let's take a look at some excerpts from the debate.
No applause, no reaction of any kind except right now when we welcome President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney.
President Obama more than made up for his lackluster performance in the first debate by driving home his arguments in classic style, and at times even had Governor Romney agreeing with and congratulating him.
I think from the very beginning, one of the challenges we've had with Iran is that they have looked at this administration and felt that the administration was not as strong as it needed to be. I think they saw weakness where they had expected to find American strength. And I say that because from the very beginning, the president in his campaign some 4 years ago said he'd meet with all the world's worst actors. In his first year, he'd sit down with Chavez and Kim Jong-il, with Castro, and with President Ahmadinejad of Iran.
When it comes to tightening sanctions, look, as I said before, we've put in the toughest, most crippling sanctions ever. And the fact is, while we were coordinating an international coalition to make sure these sanctions were effective, you were still invested in a Chinese state oil company that was doing business with the Iranian oil sector.
We're going to have to recognize that we have to do as the president's done. I congratulate him on taking out Osama bin Laden and going after the leadership in Al-Qaeda. But we can't kill our way out of this mess.
Well, my first job as Commander-in-Chief, Bob, is to keep the American people safe. And that's what we've done over the last 4 years. We ended the war in Iraq, refocused our attention on those who actually killed us on 9/11. And as a consequence, Al-Qaeda's core leadership has been decimated.
The two politicians also clashed on the issue of increased defense spending.
Governor Romney's called for $5 trillion of tax cuts that he says he's going to pay for by closing deductions. Now, the math doesn't work, but he continues to claim that he's going to do it. He then wants to spend another $2 trillion on military spending that our military's not asking for.
Our Navy is our Navy is smaller now than any time since 1917. The Navy said they needed 313 ships to carry out their mission. We're now down to 285. We're headed down to the low 200s if we go through with sequestration. That's unacceptable to me.
First of all, the sequester is not something that I proposed. It's something that Congress has proposed. It will not happen. The budget that we're talking about is not reducing our military spending. It's maintaining it. But I think Governor Romney maybe hasn't spent enough time looking at how our military works. You mentioned the Navy, for example, and that we have fewer ships than we did in 1916. Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military has changed. We have these things called aircraft carriers where planes land on them.
And News First Shamir Rasuldeen, who has been following the U.S. presidential election trail closely from New York, joins us now over the phone for an overview of the final debate.
The last U.S. presidential debate in 2012 focused on foreign policy issues that provide the biggest challenges to U.S. foreign policy during the next presidential term of office. Now, these issues included Syria, Iran, Israel, China, Libya, and even Afghanistan. Foreign policy matters are always closely linked with national security in any discussion of U.S. international affairs, and the differences between the candidates on foreign policy issues are just as important as the differences in their approaches to domestic issues. U.S. President Barack Obama was very assertive on his remarks right from the start during the third and final debate. According to analysts, Republican Mitt Romney was contradicting his remarks on issues in Afghanistan. Closely being able to monitor the debates in September, it was evident that during the vice presidential debate, Republican Paul Ryan, who said that they would consider a complete withdrawal of U.S. troops in Afghanistan in 2014, was put down by Romney completely. Romney said that he supported U.S. President Obama's decision to withdraw troops by 2014. Many here in New York said that Obama was on top of the debates and made his point across very well. Now, according to New Yorkers, all Romney did during the debate was agreeing with President Obama and not bringing out the position of the Romney camp. Now, following the three debates, the Democratic President Barack Obama still appears to have the upper hand in the state-by-state fight to cobble together the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency in the November 6th election. He's first, of course, will keep a close watch and report to you as and when developments do unfold. I'm Shamir Rasoolian reporting for News First from New York, USA.
And that's the end of our lunchtime news today. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a pleasant afternoon.